right now, there are, well, millions of people out there just exhausting themselves. They're trying to hit this invisible financial milestone.
Yeah, completely convinced it's the ultimate finish line.
Right. Utterly convinced that passing that line will finally, make them happy. But as we continue our series today on the truth about money, success, and happiness, I want to ask you, the listener, a slightly uncomfortable question.
It is a tough one.
It really is. Are you currently chasing a version of happiness that you didn't even choose? Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are unpacking the incredibly complex, often completely hidden relationship between your income, your self-worth, and your actual peace of mind.
And it's a dynamic that almost all of us get taught in without even realizing it. Like, we are going to break down the psychological mechanisms that cause us to tie our intrinsic value to, well, just an external number.
Which is so common.
Oh, absolutely. We'll explore the evolutionary mismatch that makes modern comparisons so painful and dissect the crucial difference between comfort and contentment. Because finding genuine, lasting peace requires a complete paradigm shift away from this idea that more is always better.
Yeah, let's start with this idea from the sources of money acting as a mirror. We look at our bank accounts, our salaries, our investment portfolios, and we use those numbers to tell us if we are valuable.
Exactly, like a report card.
Yes,
Huh.
a report card for life. It tells us if we're successful or if we are simply doing enough. It operates as this ultimate, undeniable scoreboard.
And the mechanism behind why we do this is actually rooted deep in how human cognition evolved. Our brains are neurologically wired to crave easy categorizations.
These kept us alive, right?
Precisely. For our ancestors, assessing status and resources quickly was literally a matter of life and death. You needed to know where you stood in the tribe.
Wow.
Fast forward to the modern world, and society provides us with an incredibly neat, highly visible scoreboard money. We attach deeply to numbers.
Like follower counts, square footage, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Follower counts, your salary. Because they are immediately comparable. The brain just loves a shortcut, so we lazily equate financial accumulation with total human success.
But, okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Mhm.
We are wired to trust successful people because wealth usually is a proxy for high competence, isn't it?
It's an assumption we make, yeah.
Right. Like, it feels like a logical evolutionary heuristic. We see someone who has built massive wealth, and we just assume they figured out how to conquer their environment. We assume they must be highly intelligent.
It is a very common heuristic, but it's a deeply buggy one. You are describing a cognitive bias known as the halo effect, which leads us directly into a phenomenon the sources call the Billionaire Microphone.
The Billionaire Microphone, I love that term.
It's fascinating. Society observes wealth and magically translates it into this universal indicator of wisdom. A billionaire can walk into a room, offer incredibly basic advice.
Like, drink water and work hard.
Right. Wake up early and visualize your goals, and the entire room goes silent and takes notes.
They treat the person like a modern-day philosopher when they literally just told you to hydrate and buy an alarm clock.
Exactly. The microphone effect artificially amplifies voices based on a single metric of success. We assume competence is universally transferable, but it isn't.
No, definitely not.
I mean, earning millions in real estate or tech does not automatically make someone emotionally intelligent or wise in their personal relationships. A millionaire giving terrible relationship advice is still giving terrible advice.
So true.
But the prestige hijacks our critical thinking, tricking our brains into granting them unearned authority in every room they enter.
Which means we're letting highly specific, often incredibly narrow scoreboards dictate our entire definition of a successful life. And if you blindly adopt that definition, you end up climbing ladders you never actually wanted to climb.
You grind away for a decade, reach the top rung, and realize...
It's leaning against the wrong wall.
Yes, exactly. And that realization creates a profound emotional dissonance. You are wearing a life that looks undeniably impressive on a spreadsheet, but it doesn't fit you emotionally.
Right, because your metrics for success were imported from someone else's highlight reel.
Yeah.
And honestly, nothing supercharges that feeling of inadequacy quite like social media.
Oh, without a doubt. It's an engine for it.
Think about your average day. You're just trying to survive an ordinary Tuesday. You're answering a difficult email, maybe folding some laundry. Then you open your phone and suddenly you feel 10 years behind.
Because someone your exact age just launched a startup.
Exactly. They launched a startup, bought a gorgeous house, and they're drinking green juice at 5 a.m. in this perfect cinematic sunlight.
The reason that comparison feels so physically painful is due to an evolutionary mismatch. Anthropologically, human beings evolved to evaluate their social standing within a tribe of roughly 150 people.
Oh, right, that's Dunbar's number, isn't it?
It is. You only had to figure out your role among a small local group. But today, you open your phone and your Paleolithic brain is suddenly trying to rank you against 8 billion heavily curated, globally optimized highlight reels.
So your brain is basically short-circuiting because it thinks you are the absolute lowest-ranking member of this massive global super tribe.
Exactly that. And this evolutionary trap is compounded by a societal conditioning we can call the vending machine lie.
The vending machine law.
Yeah, we are taught to apply the laws of physics to our careers and our happiness. Equal and opposite reactions. We believe life is a vending machine. You insert 60 hours a week, you insert your stress and sacrifice.
And a promotion and lasting happiness just drop out of the bottom.
Right. But the vending machine is broken. Two people can work equally hard and end up in wildly different tax brackets due to timing, systemic advantages, or just plain luck.
But because we're so heavily indoctrinated with this idea, this transaction, when the reward doesn't drop, we don't blame the system.
Yeah.
We blame ourselves.
We absolutely internalize the failure. We assume we simply aren't smart enough or disciplined enough.
And because we feel like we're operating at a deficit, we push our happiness into the future. I see this all the time. We treat happiness like a software update that keeps getting delayed.
Yes, the constant deferral.
It's like, I'll be happy when I get the promotion. Bug fixes for my anxiety are coming when I hit a 6-figure salary. I'll be happy when I move.
What you are describing is a hijacking of the brain's dopamine system. See, dopamine is not actually the chemical of reward. It is the chemical of anticipation.
Wait, really? Anticipation, not reward.
Exactly. It motivates you to pursue the goal. So you tell yourself your current life lacks value, pushing the finish line further away. Once you achieve the goal, the dopamine drops, the satisfaction fades almost instantly, and you immediately set a new milestone.
You ensure that you never actually install the software update. That is wild. So, if that endless pursuit of the next milestone is biologically designed to leave us unsatisfied, how do you, the person listening to this right now, how do you untie your actual self-worth from what you produce?
It requires drawing a very sharp, almost ruthless distinction between confidence and self-worth. In our culture, those terms are used interchangeably, but they are entirely different mechanisms.
Okay, break that down for us.
Confidence is a task-specific evaluation. It asks, can I execute this specific thing? Can I pass this exam? Can I negotiate this contract? It fluctuates based on evidence.
But self-worth asks a completely different question, right?
Right. Self-worth asks, if I fail this exam, if my bank account drops to zero, am I still inherently okay inside? Self-worth is the baseline ability to believe your existence matters even when nobody is clapping for you.
Even when you're producing absolutely nothing of economic value.
Precisely. When you collapse those two concepts and over-identify with your economic output, your internal value becomes incredibly volatile. You turn yourself into a machine that has to constantly justify its existence through productivity.
And that is exactly why rest starts to feel like a crime. If your identity is tied entirely to your output, taking a break feels like a system failure. You try to sit on the sofa on a Sunday afternoon, and your guilt just paces around the room staring at you.
Asking why you aren't doing something to optimize your life.
Yes, it's exhausting.
That pervasive guilt is the direct symptom of capitalist conditioning. You've internalized the idea that you're a depreciating asset unless you're generating returns.
There is this really vivid, grounding story from the sources that perfectly illustrates what it looks like to untie these things. It's about this woman who earned a very meager living, objectively near the poverty line.
I love this example.
It's so good. Her daily life was a masterclass in untethered self-worth. She grew fresh herbs in these tiny mismatched pots in her kitchen. She religiously made tea for her neighbors. She would talk to the postman like he was family.
Her internal posture is what makes that so fascinating. Her life lacked any form of financial prestige, but she possessed this quiet, unshakable internal validation.
She didn't need the external world to measure her existence at all.
Because she had already validated it herself. Her self-worth was anchored in her humanity, her connections, and her daily rituals. That made her psychological state infinitely richer than, say, a miserable executive pulling in a massive salary.
It totally flips the script on what it means to be successful. But this begs a highly practical question. If self-worth truly comes from within, what is our money actually buying us?
Well, money obviously matters. We can't ignore that.
Right? If you are listening to this right now, you know you need it for safety, for groceries, for relief from the very real panic of an unexpected medical bill.
Money absolutely eliminates the acute stress of scarcity. But once those foundational survival needs are met, we run into a psychological wall. Beyond a certain threshold, money primarily buys comfort, not contentment.
Comfort versus contentment. Those are so easily confused.
Extremely easily. Comfort makes the mechanics of life frictionless. A temperature-controlled car, high thread count sheets, a roof that never leaks. Contentment, though, is the quiet, internal equilibrium of feeling, this is enough.
You can effortlessly purchase the comfort, but you cannot buy the contentment.
Exactly. Imagine checking into a 5-star luxury hotel. Everything is architecturally perfect. The lighting is dialed in, the room is perfectly silent, the comfort level is mathematically optimized.
But you sit on the edge of the mattress and you feel completely, hollowly alone. Your mind is just racing with anxiety.
Contrast that with visiting a close friend who lives in a cramped, tiny studio apartment. The heater is a bit noisy, you are cooking a cheap meal together over a tiny stove, laughing until you can barely breathe.
And you sleep on a thin foam mattress on the floor.
Right. The physical comfort in that studio is objectively low, but the contentment is profound. You sleep deeply and wake up at peace.
It perfectly highlights the limits of what currency can achieve. And the reason buying more comfort doesn't lead to more happiness is because our brains adapt incredibly fast. The sources call this hedonic adaptation.
Yes, the hedonic treadmill.
I like to think of it as emotional inflation. We try to upgrade our lives to feel successful. The new smartphone, the luxury SUV.
And if we look at the neuroscience of that hedonic adaptation, when you purchase that luxury SUV, you experience a massive spike in dopamine. But as we discussed, dopamine is a learning chemical. It is biologically incapable of maintaining a prolonged high.
Otherwise, we'd never get anything done.
Exactly. If our ancestors stayed euphoric every time they found a berry bush, they would have stopped hunting and starved. So your brain aggressively downregulates its dopamine receptors.
So it's like trying to drink from a fire hose of pleasure. Your brain adjusts to the new luxury so quickly that the excitement completely evaporates.
Within a month, that luxury SUV is just the car you drive to work. The psychological thrill is gone, but the exorbitant monthly payments remain for years.
Wow. Chasing material upgrades really is a biologically unwinnable game.
It really is. Which is why we need a complete shift in how we define currency. The most vital transition you can make is moving from valuing financial wealth to valuing time wealth.
Time wealth. That completely changes the calculation of success.
Consider the tragedy of the 80-hour work week. You might be earning an enormous amount of currency, scaling to the absolute pinnacle of your industry. But if you have zero time to read to your children, zero time to repair your nervous system.
Zero time to simply sit in a chair and think. Are you actually wealthy?
Exactly. Status is transient, gadgets become obsolete, but time is the only truly non-renewable resource in human existence. It is the quietest, most absolute form of wealth.
So instead of constantly asking, how do I get more? We have to ask a much more intelligent question. What is enough for me?
And finding your enough isn't about giving up ambition or, settling for mediocrity.
Right. It's not about giving up.
No, it is an exercise in extreme self-awareness. Finding enough is about locating the exact point on the economic graph where maximum utility meets sustainable peace. Right before the law of diminishing returns ruins the experience.
Knowing precisely where to draw the line so your actual joy isn't suffocated under the weight of managing too many assets.
The sources share this great story about a man who lived in a basic one-bedroom flat. He rode a secondhand bicycle everywhere. He wasn't on social media.
Oh, I remember this one.
But every single morning, his routine was immovable. He slowly brewed a pour-over coffee, opened his window to feed the birds, and read a single page of poetry before starting his day. That was his defined peak of utility.
He wasn't delaying his life, waiting to afford a sprawling estate before he allowed himself to enjoy a Tuesday morning.
He had mastered the ability to extract deep satisfaction from the ordinary. Modern society trains us to look for fireworks, but profound happiness almost always resides in the mundane moments we rush past.
It's the quiet hum of the kitchen in the morning. It's the warmth of a mug against your hands. It is my absolute favorite concept, that Barefoot Peace.
Barefoot Peace, yes.
If you're listening right now, you know this exact feeling. You walk through your front door after a brutal, exhausting day. You kick your shoes off, your feet hit the floorboards, and your brain just physically sighs.
Your parasympathetic nervous system engages.
Yeah, exactly. And your body goes, okay, we're safe. You cannot put a price tag on that feeling.
You really can't. That barefoot peace is the sensation of arriving in the present moment. And an incredible psychological shift happens once you establish that baseline of enough.
You realize you have a surplus.
Yes. You are no longer operating from a mindset of scarcity, which means you have something worth giving to others.
Because giving from a place of exhaustion builds resentment. But giving from a place of surplus builds connection.
The paradox of prosocial behavior is that giving away your resources doesn't shrink your happiness, it dramatically expands it. When you engage in genuine generosity, your brain releases oxytocin, which fosters connection and lowers stress.
Like the story of the man with the umbrella.
Yes. The image of a man walking down a city street in a torrential downpour. He is completely soaking wet, his clothes are ruined, but he has this massive, genuine smile on his face.
Because he had just given his umbrella to a stranger who was caught in the rain, and he didn't give it away because he had a surplus of umbrellas in his briefcase.
He gave it away because he possessed an internal surplus of resilience. He saw someone in distress, and he knew he was psychologically robust enough to handle being cold and wet for 20 minutes.
That fleeting moment of shared humanity provided a richer sense of fulfillment than any paycheck he received that month.
Unquestionably.
Man, we have charted a massive amount of territory today. We started by dissecting the evolutionary drive to turn money into a scoreboard.
And unpacked how the halo effect creates the millionaire microphone.
Right. We looked at how social media exploits Dunbar's number, and how the vending machine lie tricks us into endlessly delaying our happiness for a software update that never installs.
We also separated the performance metrics of confidence from the unconditional baseline of self-worth.
Explored the neuroscience of hedonic adaptation, the emotional inflation, contrasting the hollow comfort of the luxury hotel with the deep contentment of the tiny studio, ultimately arriving at the realization that time wealth is the ultimate asset.
The core truth we really want you to take away from this deep dive is that your value as a human being is not a depreciating asset tied to your economic output. True success isn't about outcompeting 8 billion people on a digital scoreboard.
It is about untying your identity from the endless hustle and actually inhabiting the life you have worked so hard to secure.
Which brings us to a final, actionable thought for you to carry forward, building on this reality of time wealth.
We established today that time is the absolute quietest form of wealth. And unlike currency, once a minute is spent, it is biologically impossible to earn back.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. So, as you go about the rest of your week, ask yourself this question. What is one thing in your daily routine that you are currently paying for with your unrecoverable time that you would absolutely refuse to buy with your actual money?
Wow. That is the perfect metric for evaluating your days. Think about that the next time you find yourself endlessly scrolling or stressing over a financial scoreboard that won't matter at the end of your life.
Take a breath, step back, and allow yourself to notice the small barefoot joys right in front of you.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. You might not be able to dismantle the world's grading system, but you always retain the power to stop handing in your report card. Take care.